Hey, Trish, sir.
How are you? You don't. I know. I could go, hello, Karen Mills.
Hello.
Great to
Hello.
see you. Hello.
Great to see you.
Great to see you. Welcome, everybody, to a fresh new episode of What I Know So Far. I am Trish, sir. This is your gorgeous host and partner in Chattanooga, Karen Mills. She's now put a banner up, which we love.
Yes.
So you know.
Just letting you know. Today, yes, I am home. I'm in Chattanooga. Sometimes I might be on the road in a hotel room, but
That's right.
When I'm home, I want to celebrate it.
And I'm in a bunker, and I realized I lit a candle in here underneath my Dolly picture, if y'all can see that behind me. And it looks like I'm doing a small prayer vigil to Dolly, but I think we all should.
Well, I think we all should too. I think
right?
that's
Patron saint of Dolly.
Yes.
If y'all have not been listening to us, please. We are so excited to do this podcast and bring it to you. It's What I Know So Far. You can rate, subscribe, review, follow us. We'd love
All
to
the
hear
things.
from you. Yeah, we want to know who you want us to have on, because as soon as this summer schedule's over and everybody gets back to life a little bit, it's easier for us to get guests on. But right now it's like herding kittens, isn't it, Kay?
Everybody's somewhere else and enjoying their time. So
Which we don't
whenever
blame
we get
them.
back to work, we don't begrudge them that.
No, but we thought, because Karen and I were on the phone, as girlfriends do, the other day. We were on the phone talking about just life in general. And I said to Karen, you know what I watched the other night, and I hadn't seen it in a long time, was Joan Rivers' documentary, because I love Joan. It's hard to be a female comedian and not love Joan. And
Right.
Karen and I were talking about it, and Karen proceeded to start telling me a story of when she met Joan. And then we said, why don't we do an episode about why we got into comedy? Because as long as we've been friends, neither of us had discussed that.
No.
What a wild thing. So this episode is how we each got into comedy. And I think it's a great thing on What I Know So Far, because watching the Joan documentary from different seats, the documentary was shot in 2010. It really gave me this fresh perspective right now in 2024 of all the things that had the evolution of female comedy. So we were talking about it, and I called Kay. So I said, oh my gosh, I watched this. And you had seen it, right, Karen? Is that right? Had you seen it originally?
It's been a while, though,
Yeah.
just like you. I probably need to go back and watch it again. But she was such a pioneer. I mean, she had no one really. She had no other.
She had no
female
competition.
comedians. Yeah.
No,
Had
and I hate to say competition.
And nobody. Yeah.
But there were no peers, truly.
Right. Yeah, and no one to in competition sounds more like in a competitive way, but she had no one to commune with.
That's
either.
right. That's well said. You're
know.
right. Because I never think about it as competition, although the reason I said competition is because Joan looked at it that way.
Right.
And so when you watch this special, if you haven't seen it, and we'll put the link in the show notes because I always forget the name of it, but it's so powerful because she was the OG. I mean, obviously you had some, you had Phyllis Diller, you had some standalones before her that she looked up to, but they were just far enough behind that she looked at them as mentors or she looked up to.
Exactly.
But there was nobody. She was in a boys club and really felt she had to pull these punches that were boys club energy. And she was so innovative and so ahead of her time. And not my personal style of comedy, but you cannot begrudge in how forward thinking and how fresh she was and the swing she took. But the irony was she just wanted to be an actress on Broadway. She didn't want to be a comic. She just happened to be really good at timing. And I was going, what? I forgot about that watching that special. And there were so many things about it that spoke to me, but then so many things about it that broke my heart, because I thought, man, Joan, you didn't need to be the top of the heap. You are it. Like, there was no competition. None of us looked at you that way, but because she came from a different generation, she really felt that. And
she had to fight harder to be seen and heard. At least now there's a lane for female comedians, and she was out there just
creating it,
literally paving
it.
Lane. Yeah, that's right. And so we all need to thank Joan for,
for
knocking
life,
down some trees.
Joan.
Yeah.
She's the queen. Can we talk? We will. I can't do a Joan impression, or I would have. But can we talk? Yeah, we can talk about the fact that if it was not for Joan for life, none of us. Can I tell you a true story too? I told this to Kay. I wanted to be on QVC because of Joan Rivers. It wasn't Like my grandmother loved QVC when I was growing up. So she'd always watch it like it was its own show. so, so that's how I found out about QVC. And then I saw Joan Rivers on QVC and I was like, wait, you can be a comedian. And like, I was constantly, being alerted to what a comedian was. And I told Karen knows the story. But for me, y'all, when I was little, I saw I Love Lucy and I saw her and I thought, what is she? I was 3 years old when I saw Lucy and said, hey, my papa was watching a rerun and I was like, what is he? And he's like, she's funny. What do you mean? And then I've asked everyone in my family because I wasn't satisfied with the answer. They'd be like, she's an actress. She's a funny actress. I was like, something ain't right. I just kept going, no. And they're like, what is she telling us? No, she's asking. And then one day my Uncle Bill said, oh, she's a comedian. And I went, what? Like for whatever reason, that word seemed like the right word. And then I saw the Carol Burnett show and I asked, what is she? And they said, she's a comedian. And I was like, and Sweet Lily Tomlin doing Edith Ann on Sesame Street. Same thing. I asked what she was. They said comedian. I was like, I like this job. Like in my head, I kept thinking that's the neatest thing I'd ever seen. But I never could put together as a kid, it could be me. Like that, I could do that. I just thought these are the kind of people I like. Right.
Right.
And I think that's really powerful for what we all say now is role models and every version of a role model and what that is and who that is. Do you remember that moment for you, Kay?
Well, I do, but in terms of just commenting on the Joan thing, before I got into comedy, she had just left subbing for Carson and had started her own show on Fox and her late night show. And she did this thing, Joan for a Day, a contest. And I wasn't even in comedy then, but I got up in the living room and I did my shtick and I did this whole thing and submitted a tape and I got runner up.
What?
So, yeah, well, I didn't win, but I did get flown out to the top 5, were flown out to LA to see a show and got to meet her and everything. So it was just a cool, fun experience. And I didn't even have comedy in my mind at that point.
And you were just, let me ask this. First of all, I've got so many questions over here. Did that truly, I'm assuming as an actress, like just to do an impression of Joan? Was that the thought when you did it? Because it wasn't from a stand-up place.
Well, I can do no impression, so I really wasn't trying to do her as much as I was just getting. I mean, I'd always done things fun. I'd always taken drama class in high school, but because I played basketball, I couldn't really be in plays. And even though my drama teacher, who I loved so much, she would always hold a place for me in the school play, but it'd be something like I'd be an Indian and I'd get to do a flip off of something or, across the stage, something just to include me. And I just always remembered, even though I had such a small part, I loved it so much. And then I'd kind of forget about it because I was back, playing sports and didn't have time for it. So then after college, when I moved to Atlanta, I did all kinds of things, lip sync contest, anything anybody had going on, I was in. That was back when I was fun. Now I'm fun. Now I'm funny, but I'm not as much fun. And I'm trying, that's another conversation.
We'll have that conversation too, because I do think you're fun. I think sometimes life makes us a little tired and we forget our level of fun. Jason and I were just having that conversation. Put a pin in that, but I'm with you.
Yeah, responsibility starts poking the fun balloon.
Yeah.
And it just, but
adulting is a booger.
But anyway, so I just, I saw that she was having that contest. So I just got up and I did a little thing and not trying to do an impression, but I would do some of her phrases and then make a joke. And if I watched it now, I'd want to crawl under something, I'm sure. I can't believe that I was even chosen, but it's probably because I didn't have enough sense to worry about it.
That's the best part. Don't you love
That's
There's something amazing about blind no sense when you just passionately do something because it brings you joy.
Well, and you're bolder when you're not judging yourself.
You're bolder. Yes.
Yeah. And so I just did it and sent it. And then
so you got to meet her.
Yes.
Was she lovely? Because
she was.
See, I had two encounters with Joan, very brief, because when I was on Clean House, she obviously was the queen of E and the red carpet. So Clean House originally, all E was our parent company. A lot of people think I was on HGTV. Not the case. It was actually Style and the E network. So I got to be around Joan at like TCAs, which are like the big advertiser events once a year. And just so I was in Joan's orbit, and I'd be like, oh, I'd just stand back like the mothership had orbed right in, and she came in like an orb too. But very always just incredibly put together. Melissa right at her side, which I love that relationship. And just this level of glamour. And one night and one night only, she came in to just do a drop-in set at the Improv. And if y'all had seen me many times, I prefer going on stage in a dress solely and completely because I sweat horribly when I perform. Like a lot of people are like, let's go on in jeans and be comfortable. For me, comfortable is a sleeveless dress because I can sweat about the cabin. Like my legs, my shin bones sweat. That's how much I sweat. So I've always worn dresses on stage, and I wear dresses above my knees just to give you. So like I like to sweat. And I came off stage. I had a good set, and Joan, the host said, this comedian needs no introduction. And of course she doesn't. He said, Joan Rivers. And I was like, oh, like I didn't see her from the coming off the stage to her going on. And of course I parked my butt right in the back of the showroom, watched her do nothing but Joan magic, right? Just killing. And when it was done, the Improv, the green upstairs, it's a whole, thing. And, I went upstairs. I was just sitting there in pure awe. And she comes over to me and she said, I love that you go on like a lady. I love it. And I was like, what's happening? What is happening? She didn't say crap about my comedy. It didn't matter if she'd hated it. She didn't say a word, thank God. But I loved that she just looked at me, because obviously she was in the showroom enough to know that I was on before her.
Right.
And I'm sure taking a slight temperature of how the audience was. Any good comedian's going to pay attention for a buttery minute to the room. And I was just like, I don't even think I spoke an actual true word. I think it was true gibberish. She was probably like, this idiot. She's like this country.
Yeah, glad she looks good because she can't talk.
Because she can't talk, say a damn thing, but at least she's got nice calves. Or she was just like, but I appreciated, hello, Joan, the queen of fashion. And, she did the fashion police at the time.
Sure.
That she saw that I came to work put together and didn't look like, I was going to go do laundry. So anytime I get ready for a show.
That she took the time to say something to you.
That she took the time to say something, yes. Again, would it have been amazing had she actually spoken my comedy? But now, because that was in about 2011, 2012, it was a bit ago. And now I watched that documentary back. What y'all don't realize is that Johnny Carson, who was the precursor, if you are not of our Gen X era.
A certain age, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not Gen X, then you do not know that the very first host of The Tonight Show was the amazing Johnny Carson. Was it Johnny Carson or was it Jack Parr before Johnny Carson? I don't remember. Or was it always Johnny?
No, it was Johnny, then it went to Jay. So Jack Parr was before.
Before
Johnny,
so,
yeah.
So it was Jack Parr, then Johnny, then Jay. And then Conan for a sneeze. And then then back to Jay. And then Jimmy Fallon. We did all that to get you to Fallon. So we say that to say is Johnny was very pro comedian. He had comedians on probably more than any of them in any era, I would say. And Joan was such a staple on The Tonight Show that she was made his permanent guest host when he went on vacation. So as the only female comedian, what a huge deal that he minted her, that person. And she was there and doing all that for 20 years. Y'all, just to give you the amount of time. For 20 years, Joan was a faithful Johnny sidekick, right? So kind of stayed in that lane of I'll be your number two, or technically number three, because Ed McMahon was his number two.
Right.
Which I always thought was crazy. Why didn't he just have Ed do it? But it's okay. So another show. And then Joan got offered by Fox her own show. And she was so excited and so thrilled, like that she as a woman was getting this swing. And when she called Carson and told her, he never spoke to her again.
Yeah. I know. That
And
was
she
rough.
was devastated.
Devastated.
And I think that's what she says. And if you listen to her in her own documentary, she said, we were dead before we started because she made her husband the executive producer, and there were too many cooks in the kitchen, and too many opinions. And it really was this weird hex, if you will. I'm trying to think of a better word, but hex that Johnny didn't give her his blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And she was devastated from it. And it was not on the air long. I don't know the actual time. Forgive me. I'll have to watch the special.
I think it's about 2 years.
Was it that long?
I think it made. I know it made it first season, and I think maybe it was canceled midway through second. Maybe.
Well, that's better than I had thought. I thought it was less than that. So okay. So I mean, I just think she was shaken from the word go. And it was really powerful to watch because you realize if you love the show Hacks at all, if you're not watching Hacks, you realize how much from Hacks they pull from Joan's life.
It's so Joan.
Oh, it's so like Joan would have to be, if she was still with us, Joan would have to be the executive producer of that show.
Oh yeah. Joan would be doing that show.
Yeah, Joan would be like, screw you, Gene Smart, it's me.
Even though Gene's fantastic, she would be like, girl.
Move it, sis. That is true. Oh my God, yeah. And could you imagine, I just said this to my husband. I said to Jace the other night after watching the documentary, because he'd never seen it, and he said, I didn't realize what a massive pioneer she was. I didn't realize what it was. And he said too, I understand now, because as a musician, they just do things differently. And he said, I understand now the work ethic of comedians and why women have that extra, we got to do it just a little bit more. We have to do it.
Yes.
He said, after watching this.
A little bit more, a little bit better. But let me just say that you say comedians' work ethic. This comedian does not have a work ethic compared to Joan Rivers.
I agree. No, I agree. I'm a lazy. I might as well just be
that's why
around.
I haven't rewatched the documentary, because all it'll do is make me feel like I need to,
It's inspiring though. No, I think it's no, it won't. It'll make you
so. But the way she filed her jokes,
she learned that from Phyllis Diller. I didn't know that. Did you? I think, I don't know if Jones is, but Phyllis Diller's card catalog is at the Smithsonian. Oh, I want to go see it. So just to tell y'all, there used to be a thing in libraries back in the day called a bibliography. Little children, gather around the fire as we tell you. And that's how you'd research or find out anything. You'd have to go in and look for a bibliography, through a bibliography, to look for a researched reference, right? And Joan had an old bibliography filing system cabinet in her office that her assistant, Precious, managed, and would type every one of Joan's jokes, put them in order of genre, and filed them away.
Yeah. In a card catalog.
So Joan,
and it was full.
And I don't mean one or two on index cards typed, y'all. It was a thing. I thought, God, just to go have an afternoon. Like, if Melissa owns that, Melissa should give, like, I don't want to say like tours, but she should let people have an experience where you can go. And I don't care if I have to wear white gloves. I don't care. I don't care if I don't actually touch it, or if I'm just actually allowed to like ask and someone pulls up the card. It would be fascinating to look at, just because she was so forward thinking as a comedian.
And cross-referenced everything, like, I know I have a joke on, bladder control. What is that? And she'd have it under Depends and have it under bladder and have it, just
amazing. So we told you all this because that's really started the rabbit hole of how we got into comedy and why we got into comedy. And mine, I never really knew I could do it. And then I fell in love with improv, assuming I needed a group of people around me. And I told Karen too, my other thing was when I found Saturday Night Live, the very first thing I ever saw as a comic by themselves, like a comedian doing stand-up, was Robin Williams. I don't know the special. He had his suspenders on. So it was, Christ was a child. It was 100 years ago. And I'd snuck downstairs and was watching it through the railings of the banister while my mom was watching it. And I think she had a couple friends over and they were all dying laughing, and I was I remember thinking, my brain, and Karen can attest to this, my brain fires, y'all, at a rapid pace. I'm sure people would just call it ADHD. His was cocaine. Mine, I've never done drugs. So, my brain fires that fast, as Robin Williams did in that special. And so I felt very, I was like, oh, what is he doing? And I remember asking my mom the next day, she's like, did you come downstairs? I said, yes. And she was like, oh my gosh, because she was probably worried I was language or what. I didn't remember any of it. I just remember the performance and thinking that's the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So my mom after that learned to bribe me with comedy. So she recorded on the VHS Saturday Night Live for me because she thought I would think Gilda Radner was fun. And she thought I'd think Rosanna Dana was the neatest thing. Because my mom was like, this is Trisha's humor. Thank God for my mom. I was like 6 years old, y'all. I'm like, I want you to understand. And the first time I saw Saturday Night Live, I was like, oh my Lord, this is the coolest thing. So that's how they got me to go to mass on Sundays. They would bribe me and go, if you take to the bed now, we will record Saturday Night Live for you. And I'd be like 8 years old. I was like 7 or 8 at that point. And I'd be laying in the bed, it'd be 8 o'clock at night. Sometimes in the summer, the sun would be out. It'd be reruns. I didn't care. I didn't even know what a rerun was. And I'd be like, I'm in the bed, record SNL. Although we called it Full Saturday Night Live back then. And I'd be like, record it. So I used to think comedy also was a group of people. Like I didn't, which it is, but I didn't understand that you could really, really do it by yourself until I worked out like the difference between, and then they recorded Comic Relief for me on HBO, which used to be this great charity that I wish we all still did to the degree it was on.
I know. I wish we did too.
Me too. I want so badly for Netflix, somebody bring it back, because it was Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, and Whoopi Goldberg who put together a all-star armada of their friends and raised money for the unhoused. And it was unbelievable. And as a child, I thought, I want to be able to do all that. I want to give back. I want to make people laugh. I love their hearts. Like I remember the whole feeling behind it on top of the comedy. I was like, I'm doing that. So I think there's really, for me, that was where it all rooted. It really rooted there, but I didn't still understand how it could be my job. It really didn't resonate. How about you, Kay?
Yeah, I get it. And I apologize if I told this story before, but when I was in college, we used to do this thing called Meet the Mocks, and we would introduce all the players to the boosters. No,
you didn't. And I don't even know this story.
Oh, okay. So it's a big banquet every year, and every year I would write something on how we introduce the team to make it fun. And I did a Saturday Night Live takeoff one year, and it was, if I must say, it was hilarious. but I wrote and cast everyone in it and did the whole thing. And we also incorporated some stuff from Airplane in there at the same time. But anyway,
love that movie.
I know, but it was truly hilarious. And I remember this one thing we did, one scene where real big center of ours, big girl, and she had a medicine ball, and we had made a Mr. Bill. And you remember Mr. Bill?
Oh, no, Mr. Bill.
Yeah. And so we're doing, let me play. I want to play with the medicine ball. So here's a big medicine ball, going to pass it to Mr. Bill.
Squashes and flat.
And we had told her that's what's supposed to happen. And we had told her, so whatever you do, go low. So you throw it over Mr. Bill's head because you need to smash him. That's the joke. Yes. He's wanting to play it. So whatever you do, if it hits the floor first, that's fine, but don't throw it over his head. Well, what you do, throw it right over his head. And I thought, okay. And then she had the greatest comeback, though. She took her fist and smashed him and said, I knew you wouldn't catch it. But anyway, we did all kinds of things off Saturday Night Live and parodied it, and it was so funny. And when the banquet was over, this 80-something-year-old man came up to me and he said, what are you going to do after you graduate? And I said, I guess I'm going to coach. And he goes, you need to rethink that. Said, this is your gift.
I have a cold chill. Karen, I have a cold chill.
And I thought, I said to him, I said, this is fun, but I can't, this can't be my job. I mean, I've got to have health insurance. I've got to make money. I just couldn't wrap my brain around
That's right.
how that could be my job.
That's right.
And so I went on, didn't think much more about it, but I have never forgotten it. And now that's been, 40 years. And I've never forgotten that.
And do we know who this 87-year-old man was?
No.
See, it's your guardian angel.
Yeah, he is now, but I never forgot him saying that. But then I went on, I did a year coaching. I didn't love coaching the way I loved playing. I wasn't happy. And I moved to Atlanta and was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I'd taken acting classes. But when I went to auditions, I would lose something because I was too short or I was too this or that. It had nothing to do with anything except physical, I wasn't the right type. And I thought, I want to be in charge of my own destiny. I don't want somebody else deciding if I can do something or not. And every time I would see Johnny Carson and he'd have a comic on, I'd go, I know I could do that. So finally, I got the courage to go to open mic at the Punchline. And but all I knew how to do was tell jokes. When our basketball team would go on trips, all the other girls be studying on the bus, and I'd sit up at the front with the bus driver, and we'd tell jokes. So that's all I learned in college. And so all I knew how to do was tell just jokes I knew, stock jokes. I didn't know how to take humor in my own life and turn it into comedy. And so after I got up and did a set of, bad jokes, when I got off stage, the manager of the Punchline says, you have the stage presence, you have the delivery. So, but you got to learn to write your own material. And so he recommended a writing class that I take, and I took it and learned how to do that. And then I went back like 6 weeks later, got up, did another set of original material, and he hired me to open. And
okay.
And one of my first opening jobs.
I love this story. Tell the story, please. I love this.
One of the first people I opened for at the Punchline was Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart, everybody. Daily Show, America's Jon Stewart. Go. Yes.
Yeah. And he was they were literally just getting ready to start the Daily Show, and he was working out some last minute stuff. And he was so fun and so nice. He was very focused on what he was doing. So he wasn't, sitting back there chatting, but he was really, really kind and funny. And so that was a lot of fun. And then Chipper Jones came because he wanted to see Jon Stewart. So I got to see Chipper.
That's Atlanta Braves, Chipper Jones, everybody, in case you're not up with the sports nerds like Kay and I are. We're low-key sports nerds in the background. So you ever have any cross-reference, and when we talk about somebody, 90% of the time it's probably an athlete.
Yeah. So anyway, the rest is history. So,
but see, isn't that amazing that you knew that there was something more and you trusted your gut enough to follow it? Because I think a lot of times, and we've all done it in life, there have been times when I'm like, I should probably just go back to the funeral home. And, I'm real good at that. Like, I can sell air conditioners to Eskimos. I have no problem selling a casket, like, genuinely. And I don't mean that. I've had many a time in my life where I was like, well, this wasn't what I thought. And boy, if God doesn't do something to go, nah, girl, come on, get over here. Like, quit acting new. And so I think it's a big level of trusting what's been put in you, because as we've said before, what God puts in your heart and what he puts in somebody else's. Like, there's no part of me that, again, to reference the Olympics, that I have the dream that Katie Ledecky has to be one of the greatest swimmers in the world, never has crossed my mind. Not once. Yeah. So there's something for everybody. And for me, when I finally realized, because I was in improv groups in college, in high school too, I would do improv, I'd plays. But when I finally thought, okay, well, I guess I should try stand up, by myself, I had a horrible set at the Laugh Factory. It was I wrote jokes, and Karen will attest, I am certainly not a joke teller. That is not my gift set. I'm a storyteller, but I didn't know better yet. I didn't know. And I had a not good. You get 3 minutes. So what they used to make us do is my first time up was at the Laugh Factory on Sunset. by myself. So like talk about ripping a Band-Aid off. It was just like, you might as well, it was like jumping in the deep end of an Olympic sized pool, holding a cinder block and somebody asking you to tread water. That's what I did. And I'd never been on a stage, y'all. Like the bravery of young comedians, I don't think people really realize. And like Karen said, part of it might just be blind stupidity because we're passionate. But if you keep coming back, it's when you know it's what you love and is in your heart. And I didn't have a good set. And the owner of the club back in the day, which I thought was sweet, would sit with everybody. Jamie Masada, everybody knows Jamie in LA. And he'd sit and give you, he'd grab his face and do this, buddy. But he told me, he goes, I think you're just an actress that's funny. And I was so offended. Because I know part of me, I mean, I'm grateful if someone sees me in a light that they think I'd be good for a role, right? But I'm not an actress. Like that's never been I'm not a Meryl Streep. There's no part of me that's like, I can't wait to be Julia Roberts. Said me never. No, like my deal would be far more comedic based. I would say Carol Burnett, but I can't carry a tune in a bucket. So I won't disrespect Carol's gift sets. But yeah, I'm much more comedic. And I thought, what? No, I'm a comic. And another comedian who now to this very day is still one of my dearest friends, 27 years later, who happened to be she was hosting there. She was an MC. And Courtney walked by and says to me while I'm in the middle of getting my face handed to me about you're not good. Don't bother. They're coming back. Turns and goes, I thought you were great. Right in front of the owner. And she goes, I like her, Jamie. And I was like, thank you. And he goes, come back, do something different. That was horrible.
Well, everybody's got to learn.
You got to learn. I was like, fair enough, And so I'd come back. By the way, like a couple months later, I didn't just genie up next week and go, I'll be funny. I went and worked in small rooms. And y'all, when you really want to do it and you know it's what you love, you will play laundromats. You will play bowling alleys. You'll do anything to get the material out of your mouth. And by the way, I still do to this day, just so I can go, as Karen loves to say, I will say it for you because little Kay probably won't cuss on this show, but I'll do it for her. I'll say to Karen, I've got to get this joke out. And she goes, honey, do you want to say it or do you want me to say it? Because your timing when you say it's beautiful.
So you got to F it up so you can fix it.
Karen says F it up, which I love because it's true. You have to just get something out of your mouth. So I went back. I did a good set at the factory. And he said, you know what? Let's get you over here. So I started doing small sets on crappy nights of the week. And one night the MC got sick and didn't show up. And I got to be on, and I'll never forget it. It's when I really learned to just go be me. I said some joke. It was not funny, or telling a story. It wasn't funny. And the room was quiet. And I said, I don't care. I grew up in a funeral home. I thrive in silence. I was like, and they died. They literally all just lost it. And I just kept being uncomfortably silent for a second. I was like, we can stay right here. I love it quiet. And that moment dawned on me because I'd never thought to be so authentic. Because at the time, somebody talking about growing up with dead people is weird. It was 20-something years ago. I mean, it's probably a little weird now, but I was like, okay. And that's what pushed me to be me and that level of authenticity. And I was like, okay, we got something here. And so the storytelling built from there. But at that moment, that's when it shifted. And I went, I can do this. I've got the ability to do this. And the rest is history. So I think there's something really powerful in kind of learning that about yourself.
Yeah.
You think?
And, at the Punchline, every Tuesday, this was back, I was coming up late 80s, early 90s when comedy was booming, and they had shows at the club Thursday through Sunday, and they were always packed.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Tuesday night, did I say Thursday through Sunday? Tuesday through Sunday. And they were always packed. And Tuesday night, it was a regular show night, but they let 6 open micers go up. So you got to go up with this full crowd and see what you could do. And every week there would be like 25 comics sign up, and there would be 6 spots. And if my name was on the list, I wanted to cry. And if my name wasn't on the list, I wanted to cry. So I wanted to do it so badly, but just the fear, that I had to face every week when it was, time to go. But nothing would have kept me from doing it and walking through that fear because I wanted to do it so badly.
See, isn't that something to that? Like, what is your what I know so far about choosing comedy for your career? I didn't even prep Karen with this question. I just thought, wow, I'm going to ask myself the same thing. I hadn't really thought about it, but what is your what I know so far of choosing comedy as your career path, or it chose you, I should say?
Well, for me, it's just following your gut. Just like when I saw Carson and thought I can do that, so I followed that hunch, that voice to go and try it. And then when he said, "You've got the stage presence, you've got the delivery, but you need to learn to write." Okay, so I went there. I learned to write. I kept following what I felt nudged to do and advised to do. And that's what I know is that you can't, if you feel something that you really desire, you can't push it down or you'll never get to live that experience. I mean, there's a reason you're being nudged toward it because it's your gift.
Good. Okay. Trust the nudge. That's
Trust the nudge.
Trust the nudge. It's so true because it's anytime that what I know so far is, I think where comedy is concerned is, it's my love. It is my genuine love. I'm so blessed to be able to have the gift of selling. I'm so blessed to be able to host. But when I feel most alive is when I'm on stage, even doing comedy, not just on a stage, doing comedy, because there's some gorgeous moment when I always say, for me, I've always been fascinated with magicians. I'm certainly not. To this day, I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to know how they do it because I just think it's magic. But I feel like there's some magic in training a room full of people to all think just for that time they're with you, like-minded enough to laugh together, to get a room full of humans to laugh together. So they've taken the time to forget what's going on in their life, good or bad, and to just all be and it sounds so hoopy doopy and dippy, but hippie, but on the same frequency where everybody's like high vibing together because what you're laughing at is raising the vibration of that room. And I feel very grateful to have that as a gift set. And I'm always just trying to make it better so that I can help raise the goodness, the good juju. I know that sounds so crunchy saying it out loud, but that really is where I come from.
No, I get that because it doesn't matter what someone's political position is or anything else. For that time, they come together and they laugh together and it makes everybody forget all that. So it's such a joyful thing.
It is. I feel grateful that what's been put in my heart is the gift of making people laugh and forget for a second anything else going on the outside, in the world. And I think that's I'm grateful that was put on me because I'd be real upset if God had put you need to be world's best accountant.
Yeah, we need to talk. Yeah, get down here, God.
Get God down here. Are you sure? Did I read this paperwork right?
I want to make people happy. This would not make them happy. If I
don't feel like estimated taxes is what my gift set's supposed to be. Oh, this has been so fun, Kay.
It has been.
We're going to have a guest on next. That'll be our next episode. But please tell everyone, I know that you can find me on all social platforms at Trish Sur, TRISHSUHR. Where you can find the fabulous Karen Mills. I'll let Karen do it because I always just flourish. Karen, where can everybody find you?
Well, KarenMills.com is my website, of course, but also Karen Mills Comedy on TikTok and Instagram, and Karen Mills Comedian on Facebook.
So you can go find us in all these places and, of course, get our tour dates and all the scheduling. But we are talking about coming to bring this podcast live to y'all. So if you'd like to see us do this podcast, little comedy, little podcast live, let us know where you're at. Let us know what city you want to see it in. We'd love to. Please remember to rate, subscribe, and review. We love a review on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you listen to us. And we hope y'all have the very best day. We love y'all so much.
Yes, thank you so much for listening.
Have a great one.